Hey guys, Scott here. I have finally played Pinhead enough to give kind of final opinions on him and offer up a couple of suggestions to things that I think would make him really actually a good killer, but still be pretty fair. I actually like Pinhead. I really enjoy the skill involved in actually playing the killer. Like, I will take a Pinhead any day of the week over a Wraith. Even if Wraith is like stronger, I still prefer Pinhead because he's actually hard to play. And I think that when you have a skill cap like that, it makes it so your time invested into learning the killer is more rewarded, and I think that's a good thing. So let's go over overall impressions and what I think they should change. I think Pinhead is very close to being a good killer. I would say right now he's still not quite there, but he's very close to being a good killer. Now, the thing is, he's kind of like RNG based because you can hit the most perfect shot in the world, but sometimes you will get your portals to just spawn in a wall or something, and you just end up getting nothing out of it. So he can get more reward or less reward than like Clown in a loop, for example, depending on essentially just how lucky you get. However, what he has that Clown does not is significant amounts of game delay. Chain Hunt is an extremely annoying thing for survivors to deal with. It makes them really unable to consistently do gens or heal or really just do much of anything. So the threat of Chain Hunt is real, which means the survivors have to spend time running to the box and then opening it. So even if you never even get a second of Chain Hunt the entire match because survivors are always on top of opening the box, it still means you have one survivor that's not doing gens for a pretty decent amount of time because they have to run to it, open it, and then run back to a generator. And at which point, if you're not chasing anybody, it's a free option to go actually teleport to that survivor and initially just start a chase whenever you want. Best part about teleporting to the box is it's not like Freddy's teleport where you have to just kind of like look around and find where people are. You always focus in on the box exactly. So as soon as you teleport, you just hold forward and you will go exactly to where the box is, which means you know where the player is. And that's really useful. So in loops, though, I think Pinhead needs a couple of changes. First off, the lunge bug. I feel like it's not even worth addressing in this video because it's a known issue. The lunge bug is making it really hard to determine exactly how good he is because this is a killer that very commonly, due to his slowdown, can just barely lunge around a corner and hit a guy who's making a vault. But he can't do that right now because it's bugged. If you're not aware of what the lunge bug is, essentially his lunge has no momentum. So if you stop moving forward in any way, you just stop moving. So if you lunge around a corner, you slightly slow against the wall and you just basically stop. If you try to drop from the air and swing, you just stop. If you've tried to lunge from being immobile, like you're waiting for dead hard, you will not even move anywhere. So his lunge being broken makes this killer 10 times worse than he actually is, and it's kind of hard to get a good read on how good he'll be. But assuming that bug will be fixed, because even Behavior has to fix that one. It's a game-breaking bug. I think he just needs a couple of things changed to be really good. The first one is the logic in where his chains spawn. So I'm okay with teammates being able to break chains, and I'm okay with Pinhead being able to break his own chains, but I do think the logic where the actual portals spawn when you hit somebody with a chain needs to be addressed. And so what it seems like is happening now, so you'll basically have like a circle around, like, you know, like you'll have Pinhead right here, and then you'll have the survivor right here, and then in a circle around the survivor, anywhere in that circle is where the actual portals for the chains can spawn. You'll have 3 of them spawn. And I think that logic should be reworked. Instead of a circle, it should be a semicircle and then ahead of the survivor. Because you think about it, every time you use this power, why would you want the chains to spawn behind the survivor where you have to run into them? It doesn't make any sense. So I think the RNG should be manipulated a little bit to only spawn in like a semicircle around the survivor in front of them. And it's pretty easy to do. You just essentially have the area of where you're doing it. So I think that would make it a lot better because, you know, you're always chasing the survivor. So you want the chains to spawn in front of the survivor where they're going to try to be going. And that will ensure RNG will probably fuck your chains a bit less than they already do and just make it a little bit more consistent. So I think that's the first major change that should be looked into. The next change is his chains are very useful for slowing people down, but at kind of like a distance, they don't do anything once they're, like, you know, outside of a certain range. Now, the problem is he has a lot of add-ons that even affect the travel time of his initial aimed chain. And that initial aimed chain is the skill cap. It's hard as hell to control that chain. It's really, really hard to control that chain. So much so that pretty much every good Pinhead is just sort of playing them like Nurse. Well, they'll spawn the gateway directly on top of the survivor and just mash M1 immediately. They don't aim the chain at all. They just spawn the spawner of the chain right on top of the survivor. And so when you press M1, it just spawns inside of the survivor. And that's basically how every good Pinhead's playing, because that's the only really reliable way to do it. And also there's no reason to use the extended range of the chain because you don't get anything for it. So I think there could be a number of things, and this would actually give those add-ons that have increased duration of the chain a bit more use. So first of all, the amount of time that you can shoot the chain should be like multiplied by like 5. I'm sorry. The duration that the chain stays in the air should be like multiplied by 5. And I need to make this clear. This is not the chains that attach to the survivor. This is when you shoot it out of the portal and you can control it, that chain. You should be able to control that for like 5 more seconds than normal. Additionally, you should have the ability to press control at any time or the secondary action button to cancel your chain whenever you want. And the reason for this is it creates a very high skill cap thing, because I would love to see a scenario where there's a very good Pinhead, sees someone breaking a totem like, 60 meters away, shoots up a gateway, navigates around trees, and then lands on the guy. I think that would be awesome. And I would love to have the ability to do that. And when you do that, there needs to be some giant reward for hitting these long-range shots. And there could be any number of things, like simply more chain spawn, or the chains take longer to break, or you can even go as far as like have the Engineer's Fang damaging effect, just some like bigger reward for hitting a long range target. Because it's kind of disheartening when you see a guy 50 meters away from you and you're like, well, I'm gonna just hold W for 20 seconds until I finally get to you. It would be nice if you could use your power to do something about that. And I think if you had a chain that you can make it scale basically for how long the chain's been in the air. So right now, if you spawn the gateway on the survivor and you immediately shoot the chain, it's the same effect. You should have 3 chains. They break in the same amount of time. It's the same as the killer currently is now. But maybe for each additional second that the chain is in the air, you get another chain to spawn. So if you have the max of 5 seconds of it in the air, you'll get 8 chains total. And that sounds like, that sounds a lot. That's pretty annoying with the survivor. Yeah, but you know how hard it is to shoot a shot that takes 5 seconds of that janky turning in the air and actually have it land on a survivor? That is so hard to do. So that you should get rewarded for a solid, 10, 15 seconds of slowdown for that. If you have that ability. I would just love to see the skill cap for this killer actually make use of the fact that there are add-ons to increase this duration. It seems like they wanted that to be something that was the thing, but right now those add-ons are useless because you don't get anything for long distance shots. So I think that is something they need to look into as well. Other than that, though, I think that those are really like the main issues. It's the RNG of where the portals spawn, and then the no reward for actually getting the long range shots. Other than that, and obviously the lunge bug, I think he's actually going to be a pretty potent killer. Chain hunt is great slowdown. Again, if there was some long range reward for stopping, totems and things like that, you could even slow down hooks or unhooks a little bit from a distance if you have a good clear line of sight, or you can expertly navigate around stuff. I think that would make him in a really, really good spot. I think right now, as he stands, he's actually still pretty decent. The lunge bug really makes him so much worse than he actually is, and that does suck. But once they fix that, I think he will actually be probably like a high B tier killer, maybe low A. Some of his add-ons, I think, actually need addressing. I think actually the Engineer's Fang is overpowered. I think that thing is actually really dumb. It's basically become the new like spirit. As soon as you hit somebody with that add-on at the start of the match, people just disconnect immediately. So I think that add-on's a little dumb, and maybe it could be worked into the extremely long distance chains instead. And then that can, maybe the add-on could modify the distance at which that becomes an actual damaging hitter. Something like that. I'm just spitballing here. But those are the main things that I think need to be addressed. I guess there's one more thing. When you break a chain on the environment, I think because like when you break a chain in the environment, another portal will spawn and shoot out a chain in a couple of seconds. The problem is, because there's a couple of seconds of delay, by the time it spawns and then shoots, they're already behind another wall, and it just 9 times out of 10 doesn't end up doing anything. Now, Impaling Wire, the add-on, actually makes this a lot more effective, but I do think those ones that are part of his base power should spawn quicker, because when you think about it, this is usually happening in things like indoor maps or really, really claustrophobic loops. So if you have a 2-second delay where you spawn another portal, it doesn't really, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't do anything. So I think those should spawn on less of a delay, maybe like shave a second off that, or maybe make the chain shoot out faster, because the projectile is slow too. It's like, like you can actually visibly see it and dodge it. So I think the delay at which another portal spawns when it's broken by the environment or a teammate should be a bit faster. There was also one other suggestion I saw. This was not my suggestion. That when survivors break a teammate's chains, a new one will shoot and attach to the survivor that breaks the chain. So it'll only be one chain. It won't slow them for very much, but it creates some kind of interesting trade-off to where if you're protecting a teammate, you get slowed a little bit. I think that'd be cool. But other than that, those are my main suggested changes and thoughts on Pinhead. I actually do enjoy playing this killer. I can't wait till he's actually fixed. I'll enjoy him a lot more. I think with the couple of changes, this will make him actually really good, but still pretty fair. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about it. But that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.